slightly early. Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to alarm you, merely to praise you for running ahead of schedule. It's intended as a compliment. I had predicted you'd have to spend longer climbing up to the ramparts, but clearly I underestimated your ability with the grappling hook. You can put that silly dagger away, dear. It certainly looks very impressive, but I'm afraid you won't be using it tonight. No? Very well, if you'd prefer to hold on to it, I won't press the issue, especially if it brings you comfort. You do look rather like a child clutching their favorite doll, which somewhat lessens the fearsome murderer aesthetic you clearly wish to achieve with your costume. The mask hides your face, but I can sense your confusion regardless. This isn't quite how you expected tonight to unfold, correct? I suppose that slow nod will have to do as a response. Don't know why I expected more. It's not like assassins are famed for their talkativeness. Allow me to guess how you envision this assignment. A stealthy entrance through that window before finding me deep in sleep, entirely ignorant of the end of my life drawing near. One quick stab, then it's back the way you came, on the road disguised as an ordinary traveler before my corpse is discovered. The Queen of Lysen, murdered in a locked room. A mystery that will remain unsolved for eternity. Does that sound right? Of course it does. Before I continue, could you refill my goblet with wine? As I said, you're early. I wasn't planning on greeting you with drink in hand, but now that you're here, you might as well make yourself useful. A dangerous thing, entrusting an assassin with preparing a drink. I'm sure you have at least a dozen different vials of venoms and toxins on your person. Still, something tells me you won't use them, at least until you've heard what I have to say. I have different intentions than murder for tonight. Still, you've done exceptionally well so far. I had to ensure nothing seemed amiss to you, hence the extreme level of security you've had to circumvent. Out of interest, did you have to swim through the moat? Given the drawbridge isn't lowered, I presume that was your only option. But you look less sodden than I would have thought. Really? I never anticipated you could use your grappling hook to tightrope walk between the outer and inner battlements. Very well done. Now, what about the dog patrols? I ordered the guards to ensure their routes and times would be entirely random, so I just have to know how you infiltrated your way through. I haven't heard a single bark while I've been waiting, so you must have been very stealthy. Chunks of meat fired out of a catapult to distract them. In all my planning for this night, I never could have imagined something so devious. I am thoroughly impressed. Is that a technique the Wretched Blade teach all their acolytes, or something you devised? Suddenly you're gripping that dagger a lot tighter. Did I say something to offend you? You seem rather distressed. Ah, I understand now. You're frightened because I mentioned your guild. My dear, did you really think I was anticipating your arrival, yet was unaware of who sent you? I am very familiar with the Wretched Blades, perhaps to even a greater degree than you are. Of course, everyone's heard the stories. There isn't a tavern on the continent where dreadful tales aren't whispered when the lanterns run low. Amoral killers with no mercy, who can appear and vanish with the flickering of a candle. Wealth, power, and status matter not to them. Emperors, archbishops, and nobles have all fallen victim to their blades. I, however, understand the reality of the enterprise. I have contracted your guild myself several times, on the few occasions where diplomacy and subterfuge have failed. Always with flawless results, even if the cost of a contract is exorbitant. If I recall correctly from my visit to your headquarters many years ago, the black cowl you're wearing indicates your status as a despicable, correct? The lowest rank of assassin, above the acolytes in training. I'm I'm sure a contract of this importance would elevate you to the gray cowl worn by the bone wraiths, before you finally ascend to the elite status of the ivory blade, and get to wear one of those repulsive skull masks. I can tell the depth of my knowledge about your organization unsettles you. It should. I am aware of far more than you can presently understand. Before we continue, however, I have a request. Remove that ridiculous mask and take a seat on the bed. It feels like I'm talking to a mannequin. Despite the fact you came here tonight intending to kill me, we can still have a civilized conversation. My. I don't know what I was expecting exactly, but I am pleasantly surprised. I suppose you naturally imagine assassins to have a face covered in scars or marred by pockmarks, but you look so boyish. It's rather charming. I could easily see you as a minor courtier in my palace, having many dalliances with noblewomen. Still, there's something in your eyes that tells me you carry deep scars on the inside. That scowl is unbecoming on you, my dear. I apologize if my compliments have punctured the aura of fear you assassins are taught to adopt, but the truth is I fail to find you anything other than adorable. The annoyed expression isn't going away anytime soon, is it? No matter. We have things to discuss. On your long journey here, did you ever consider why the Blades would send a lowly despicable to kill one of the most powerful rulers on the continent? A target of my status would usually be dealt with by a team of the guild's finest assassins. Did the fact you were alone concern you, or only fuel your ambition to succeed? So you did feel confused. Thank you for honesty. I had suspected you harbored doubts about this assignment. Your traveling speed began to slow considerably as you drew nearer, and why else would you have stayed for an additional 2 days at that tavern in Harlow? Don't look so surprised, my dear. I've been having you watched since the moment you left the Wretched Blade's headquarters. You've been followed for every step you've taken until your arrival here, and I arranged for specific interactions to take place to learn more about your state of mind. The talkative little girl who insisted you play dolls with her in Ellsby, the old man begging for coin on the side of the road, and of course, the flirtatious barmaid at the Harlow Tavern. All my operatives, extensively trained and providing me with detailed reports on their conversations with you. I must admit, seeing the shock on your face is immensely gratifying. I never really get a chance to reveal my schemes to the unwitting targets, so this is a rare delight. If it makes you feel any better, you never had any chance of discovering the deception. I operate the largest and most advanced spy network on the continent. This is how Lysanne maintains its sovereignty, you see. We are far smaller than our neighboring kingdoms, and command little in the way of natural resources. I have spies in every court, temple, and marketplace, as well as undercover operatives shaping policies and wars as I see fit. I see all. No, you should be asking something different. I understand you want to know more about how I tracked you on your journey, but I need you to use your intellect and observe the bigger picture. There are 3 very important questions I need you to answer for me. Firstly, why did the Wretched Blade send you instead of a higher-ranking assassin? Correct. They foresaw only a slight chance this mission would succeed, and thus decided to send you, someone who they had invested less resources in and would be easier to replace. Does that revelation provoke any emotion in you? Sadness? Anger? You deny it, but I can tell you're lying. It does hurt you deeply to be so easily discarded. That's a perfectly valid feeling. Consider the harsh training they put you through, instructing you to maim and kill since you were barely old enough to hold a knife, giving you a purpose. Everything you suffered, the trauma you endured. just to be sent on a suicide mission? Don't turn away. I understand you've been taught that displaying emotion is weakness, but I will not punish or mock you. I feel empathy for you and your predicament. You're barely a man, but you've been through so much, seen and done things no child should. I never intended to feel anything for my assassin other than contempt. In fact, I had planned to have you disappear early in your journey, staged as a bandit attack or tavern brawl. But of course I was expecting a hardened, ruthless killer to be sent by your guild, not you. When the old beggar asked you for money, you gave it without a second thought, despite the limited funds you had been provided for your journey. When that bothersome little girl cornered you in an alleyway and asked you to play with her, you spent nearly an hour there, despite your obvious embarrassment. I can't imagine you ever played with toys as a child, did you? Kindness is not a trait found in assassins. It is beaten out of them, slowly extinguished with every throat they cut and cup they poison. Eventually, nothing remains in their hearts. But somehow you retained your humanity, despite all you've suffered. You showed it on your journey time after time, when you could have been dismissive, cruel. Time for my second question. The wretched Blades accepted a contract to assassinate me. Who placed it? I have many enemies, after all. Think hard. I want to see just how calculating you can be. The King of Ruvan. An astute response, considering the long-simmering conflict between our two nations. But no. I bought the contract on my own head. An unorthodox move, but it was the only way to determine whether I am still considered off-limits by the wretched Blades. You see, many years ago I reached an informal agreement with your leader, the Crone. In return for sensitive information I provided regarding another kingdom's succession plans, I was considered protected, with any assassination contract placed against me to be refused. However, we both know your guild isn't as prosperous as it once was. We live in a time of unprecedented peace, so the business of providing hired killers isn't exactly lucrative. In such circumstances, would the agreement be honored if a high enough price was placed on my head? As we can see from your arrival here, unfortunately not. I am thus left with only one option: to destroy the wretched Blades, eliminating the entire organization in one swift blow. Several hours ago, a significant force of my soldiers should have assaulted your headquarters, leaving no survivors. The records we find there will be used to hunt down any assassins out fulfilling contracts. There will be no more tales told in taverns of mysterious killers striking then vanishing. The people of the continent will be able to sleep without fearing a knife in the back. You look distressed again. I hope it's not out of pity for the other Blades. We both know that your empathy makes you a rarity among your peers. No one will mourn those cruel, violent butchers. Ah, I see. Your unease is due to the unanswered question of where you fit into this grand plan. You can't return to guild headquarters. It should be a smoking ruin by now. You could disappear into the night, travel far away from here, and start a humble new life as a farmhand or shopkeep. Is that what you want? To be a common man, living out an unremarkable existence? It's perfectly understandable you're unsure. You've only known a particularly brutal kind of life. I suspect you'd find the monotonous rhythm of peasant work suffocating. You've seen and done too much to fit in with everyday folk, after all. What if there was another option? Where you stayed here, with me? No, not as my prisoner. What use would I have for you rotting in a dank cell underground? I wish to employ you as my personal attendant and bodyguard. No one knows best how to defend against assassins than a former assassin. You infiltrated this castle expertly. Now you could use your skills to defend it. I understand your concern that this would simply be a continuation of your violent existence, but the truth is I expect very few threats wouldn't be swiftly thwarted by my regular guards and spy network. The prospect of you needing to use a blade again is slim. Besides, my interest in you runs deeper than simply having you trail behind me like a guard dog. What do I mean? I'm implying a more intimate relationship. As my attendant, you'd be the first person I see when I awaken, and the last before I fall asleep. You'd come to learn my moods, my likes and dislikes, my innermost thoughts and desires. I would rely on you utterly. Somehow that makes you look even more nervous. You shouldn't really find this intimidating. We've already established I find you adorable, so most of the time I would be doting on you and showering you with affection instead of being demanding. Or is that what makes you nervous? You haven't experienced much kindness from your previous employers. You probably have no real idea of what affection is, do you? It's all right, dear. I can see your shoulders stiffening. I know how difficult it is to suddenly receive tenderness after a childhood filled with pain. You'd probably prefer to be beaten with canes than have to feel the emotions kindness provokes within you. But I promise you in time, your resistance to being loved will fade away. My third and final question, then. What is your choice? If you wish to run, you'd best escape now before dawn begins to break. But if you wish to stay with me, please bolt that window you climbed in from. The room's getting cold. Thank you for placing your trust in me, my dear. I promise you won't regret it. Let me give you your first task as my attendant. To get some rest. Tonight's revelations must be overwhelming to process. Take off that restrictive armor and get into my bed. I want to keep an eye on you while you sleep to ensure you can finally relax. You don't have to be a weapon any longer. We'll find out who you want to become. Together. Bro crawling up to a lady's window to assassinate her in the rain. All it was missing was like a lightning strike when you open the window.